Cashflow Diary Podcast, episode 431.
Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Cashflow Diary Podcast, the podcast that teaches you insider tips, tactics, and strategies for creating leverage streams of cash flow into your life. Learn from top-performing entrepreneurs, business owners, investors, and thought leaders from across the globe as they share their secrets to success. Like what you learn on this and other Cashflow Diary podcast episodes? Go to learninvestingnow.com and sign up to receive powerful tips and information that will help you succeed as an entrepreneur and investor. Now, here's your host, investor, entrepreneur, business owner, educator, speaker, author, and master facilitator of Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow game, Jay Massey.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Cashflow Diary Podcast. My name is Jay Massey, and I'm glad that you are here today because we are going to talk about something that's kind of near and dear to the heart, so to speak. I mean, you guys know I have a thing for those who start out in one way and end up going a different way. And to be more specific, I always love it when we can share a story of a professional athlete or ex-professional athlete who is now got a plan after playing days are over. And I think you're going to enjoy the story. And most importantly, I think you're going to learn a few things. You're going to learn a little bit about pivoting, not the athletic kind of pivoting on your foot that you might do on the basketball court, but what I am talking about today is pivoting when it comes to business, because that could be the very thing you and I need to do to get to our ultimate success. I have with me today none other than Drew Westervelt. He's the founder and CEO of HEX Performance, a professional lacrosse player. And if you're like me, you just learned that you could play lacrosse professionally, and that's a new thing in and of itself. But what's cool is that he's traveled the world, and it gave him the opportunity and the relationships necessary to find a need. And one of the best things about entrepreneurs is that when we find a need, we can also find a way to fill it. So let's take out our pads, notepads, iPads, Galaxy pads, or whatever kind of thing you're going to take notes on today, and listen to Drew Westervelt. Drew, you there?
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here and letting us all know that you can play lacrosse professionally. Had no clue.
Yep.
But I appreciate you being here. Now, this being your first time here, I have to ask you the same question I tend to ask everybody the first time that they're here. You ready?
Yep.
All right. I tend to look at today's entrepreneurs a lot like yesterday's superheroes. You know, Batman, Robin, Wonder Woman, etc. And I think entrepreneurs and superheroes have a ton of things in common. Chief among them is that occasionally as an entrepreneur, I can close my eyes and envision myself flying around town and saving people with my product or service. Now, also like a superhero, an entrepreneur has a beginning. For example, Spider-Man. There was a time when Spidey was just a kid going to school, trying to make ends meet, taking photos for the newspaper. And then one day something bit him, literally in this case, and he discovers he's got a new gift, talent, and ability, and he gets to choose to use it for good or evil. So, my question to you is as follows. Before lacrosse, before HEX Performance, your current company, before all the things, you know, the being featured in CNBC, before all the things that you currently are known for today, what we want to know is, who is Drew Westervelt?
Yeah, well, not as a superhero, right?
Well, you could if that's who you think you are, Drew. I'm down.
No. Yeah, so before lacrosse, before all that, grew up in Maryland. Still live in Baltimore today, and that's where the business is based. But interesting story, which I didn't think we would get into today. But I grew up actually in Maryland, but in fourth grade I went to a dyslexic school. So definitely a learning disabled guy. I actually view it as a gift. I think I probably, my business partners and a lot of other places, I think a little bit differently, which I think is a good thing. But so probably I grew up school being a little bit of a challenge, but had an opportunity to go to a dyslexic school, which was incredibly empowering. And then went on to high school. Always had a love for sports. Again, went to school locally here. Also went to University of Maryland, Baltimore County here in Maryland. Played Division I collegiate lacrosse, and then had an opportunity to play professional lacrosse. Like I know is not a very familiar pro sport, but there is a pro sport that there's an indoor league as well as an outdoor league. So the indoor league is predominantly Canadian based. So there's about half the teams are in the U.S., predominantly hockey towns, and then in Canada. And then there's a outdoor summer league that's predominantly in the States. So it's a part-time league. It's a lot like how the MLS started, where you're a weekend warrior and then you go back to your regular job during the week. So that's kind of my background.
Got it. So if I liked hockey, you're saying I probably would have known that there was a lacrosse professional league.
Yeah, so a lot of the indoor game is basically the turf is just rolled out over top the ice in the ice rink. So it's a smaller goal. The goalie looks a lot like a hockey goalie. There's the physicality of hockey and fighting and all that nonsense.
And the dentist bill afterward as well.
Yeah, and then it's crazy. And then outdoor is the complete opposite. It's a field game. A little bit more finesse based, but it's a great sport. There's like the physicality of football, a lot of basketball strategy. It's interesting. It's a lot of fun.
Got it. Okay, so then there's something you said, though, that I want to highlight that I think too many people may have just not caught it. You said that you viewed what some would call a disability as a gift. Explain.
Yeah, so I think, learning about this in fourth grade, really thinking about it, I didn't want to go away from my buddies that were in school, right? That was the biggest issue for me was, right, like relocating where I was going to this different place. And what I found was that it wasn't that I had a disability. It's that I just needed to comprehend things differently. I actually needed to do it versus read it. So I could read whatever I could read. I could put things on paper very well. I just, when I comprehend things a lot better when I actually do them or when I put them on paper. So a lot of my, working rituals now involve a lot of note taking, a lot of writing things down, a lot of doing things. And I've always found that if I can educate or articulate it back to you, I've really got it. It's just how I get that in my head, right? If you told me to go read this notebook and go tell me what it said, it'd take me forever because I'd read it, but I wouldn't comprehend it. So it just required me to basically approach, school a little bit differently. And what happened was the school I went to had smaller classes and a lot more hands-on education versus, hey, go home and figure this out for homework and we'll go on to the next stuff tomorrow.
Right. It's like the rest of us. I understand. Got it. So I guess here's the question then. When it comes to, was there ever a time through your journey where you were thinking, I'm going to go down the traditional, go to school, get good grades, get a job type of thing? Or was it did you just know that, hey, I've got to do something different from the beginning?
No, I think there's a lot of fear taking that approach of, hey, I'm going to go do my own thing. I think inherently I always believed that's what I was going to do, but no, in full transparency, after college, I went and got a job as a project manager putting gas main in the ground for the local energy company. Like talk about things you don't have a passion for.
Right.
And that's what I knew, right? I go into the office, I'd be interacting with all of these different individuals on gas main, and I really had, dealing with a lot of contractors and a lot of dollars, but really, something I can honestly say is something I was not passionate about. And I didn't really enjoy the process. So, I was doing that during the week because it was a great job. And then on the weekends, having this release playing professional sports, and then kind of through professional sports, not necessarily a means to make a living, but being on the road every weekend gives you some opportunity to think about, hey, maybe I could do something different, and some of the things I'm experiencing as an athlete, maybe there's a solution I can solve.
Yeah, now, and that's exactly what I want to get into, because your solution, what HEX Performance is and does, I think a ton of people, a ton of moms really want to know, to say the least. But before we start talking about it, I want to know, how on earth did it come up? I mean, there's always a journey to the ultimate idea. And I know that HEX wasn't the first version of it. So tell us about that journey. How did we go from, all right, I'm playing pro sports and I've got but now I do this. There's a gap. Fill me in.
Yep. So as an athlete, especially playing, like I mentioned to you, I played in pro sports NHL arenas where a Brillo pad style turf was rolled out.
Ouch.
You were basically fighting, sliding, spitting, bleeding on this awful playing surface. That's, when you fall on it, there's nothing good that comes from it, right? You have like never ending scabs on your legs for the entire season. It's awful. So inherently, we're not making enough money to be our only living. So I doubt the cleanliness of that playing surface is top notch.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully
right?
No one's eating right now, but keep going.
But even in the NFL, there are guys that contract MRSA and staph, which is a bacterial issue or a virus from issues. And there's always a challenge when this happens. And it happened to the Browns. It happened to the Giants, where they're aware of this issue, but they don't know how to care for it. So they just disinfect everything. Well, the challenge with that is there's no real prevention. So me as an athlete saying, hey, I don't make enough money, but the Giants are probably upset when so-and-so misses an entire season or is out for a career because of a MRSA or staph infection. So there's a value there that maybe I can't justify personally, but it's there.
Right.
So these guys are having this issue, and they can never say, well, where is it? Was it the turf? Was it the locker room? Was it the weight room? So they just disinfect everything. But that doesn't prevent anything. That just is a Band-Aid, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the idea was, there's something called Scotchgard, and we're all familiar with for carpet. So when I spill wine on the carpet, it doesn't soak in, right?
Right.
So my thought process from a tunnel visioned athlete's perspective was, man, if I could create a similar attribute, a cleaning product that would disinfect and protect hard and soft surfaces like a turf as well as carpet or something in a locker room. So you have all these different surfaces, that would be really powerful. And we did that. Now, what we found was this product was not only clean, not only disinfected, it also had this long preventative feature that inhibited the regrowth of bacteria and mold and mildew and all that fun stuff. Now, what became really interesting is it was really effective not only on hard surfaces like a turf, but also soft surfaces like a cotton. So it could clean anything. It could clean metal, it could clean whatever, and bond to it.
Okay.
That's where it got interesting.
But it's starting to sound like it's gonna take off my skin or something too.
That's the coolest part. When I got into it, it had no dermal effects, meaning it was dermatologist tested. It's readily biodegradable and has no downstream effects. It's already found in contact lenses and some feminine products. It's built into a ton of stuff. It's just never been reformulated for aftercare, like cleaning. Okay. It's always been built in as a protection to a product. And I'm like, this stuff's awesome. I want to build it as aftercare.
Wow.
Right? So what the pivot happened was, instead of being a commercial product for turf and weight rooms, I partnered with a guy where I sponged all this knowledge from, who had an interest in using it for hospitality.
Yeah.
So that could be hospitals, hotels, things along that line. But the real pivot came because the textile industry over the last 10 years has completely flipped upside down. When I was in college, everything I wore was cotton. Now everything I wear, whether it's to the gym or to the office, is a synthetic or a synthetic blend. That is a plastic. So that's where the light bulb went off. Our textiles have changed, and the detergents I've been trying to clean this new stuff I was given as a pro athlete do not work. They feel like I'm just spraying perfume on them.
Oh, that's gross.
So what ended up happening is really thinking through, are detergents really getting out these sources of odor, which is mold, mildew, and bacteria? Are they really thinking about things aren't cotton anymore and they're now synthetic, and that requires a different chemistry?
Interesting.
So when I looked at the laundry category, I was at the time a 28-year-old guy doing my own laundry at home and couldn't find anything on the shelf that worked for my gear or the apparel I was wearing. And I couldn't be the only person, or I could have been, but I didn't believe I was the only person, right?
Oh, you're not. You're not. I got a friend his son plays soccer, and man, he's a goalie. God,
Sure.
those gloves. Oh, help me.
So the funny thing is, like, not the funny thing, and it's not sexy, but everyone has a story when we start talking about this of how it can relate.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that we realized was, like, what the product we originally looked to build had some really cool attributes. But what was able to happen was we were able to pivot because of the textile market completely changing due to innovations from Under Armour and Lululemon and Nike bringing this synthetic fabric, which is awesome. But the downside is the fabric is blamed for the issue. And it's not the fabrics that's the issue. It's the cleaning solutions haven't innovated.
Interesting.
So what we found was that the more we looked into testing not only bath towels and workout fabric, was that when we tested against leaders in the category, they really weren't getting rid of the real issues, but they were doing a great job covering it up with these incredible fragrance technologies.
Wow.
So they really haven't pivoted the base of the chemistry in forever. They may have made it a liquid, they may have made it a powder, they may have made it in a single dose pod, but not a lot has really changed. So that's where,
just the delivery system. That's not actually
correct.
Okay.
So that's where we got excited. It was like, hey, because to the outsider, it's like, wait, you're going to go start a product in a category that has nothing but behemoths.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I'm like Tide, Cheer, all of these. I mean, that they're not exactly small companies.
No, but they haven't. They're very traditional, and they've been around forever.
Okay.
And they've always worked on traditional fabrics.
Except the fabrics are no longer traditional. And what you're literally saying, you straight up like what Uber was to taxis. You're saying the same thing when it comes to detergents.
So that's where when I get energized about an opportunity was that I have to be able to articulate it. I have to understand the chemistry. I have to be really passionate about it to say we really do have a point of difference, and the product speaks for itself. That's what we're about. The challenge lies in re-educating America that your fabric has changed, and the fabrics. It's not the fabrics issue. It's not your diet. It's not your sweat. It's that your technology or your method of cleaning hasn't innovated with these changes. So, but if I would have started a laundry product 2 years ago or 4 years ago, I would have looked at the same bases and probably started from there. I think where we're unique is that we didn't start as a laundry product. We started as a commercial cleaning product,
right?
Which made us think differently about what surfaces we were cleaning, and then realizing that fabric surfaces have changed. So it's kind of a nerdy, techie thing, and we're at the end of the day, I recognize we're talking about laundry detergent, so it's really not that sexy. But when you think about it,
right,
everyone knows this issue, right? Everyone's left a bath towel on a door too long, and then it stinks.
Yes.
Everyone's left workout clothes, or you mentioned soccer gloves, or for me it was lacrosse pads. But what we really realized was that how come when I wash something, the next time I wear it, something comes back right away? Is that because something's still in the fabric?
Wow. And what's interesting to me is that no one else has asked that question, and instead we just said, okay, wash it again. That's been like,
or how about this? This is even more ludicrous. You throw it out
and go get a new one.
You've never thrown out a cotton T-shirt from years and years ago because of it stunk. You threw it out because it was unsightly and it had holes in it. Today we throw a synthetic shirt out after a year because we can't clean it anymore. Why is that?
Interesting. Okay. All right. So now through this evolution, this development, I'm kind of curious, like how long of a time was that? Because often when we're like, hey, I want to start a business, we come up with an idea and we're like, can I make money with this in 30 days? Because that'd be really great.
Oh yeah, I mean that's where I'm insane for, I didn't make any money playing lacrosse. Then it really took a while to figure out how to make money with this one. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, we're talking so for us, it was, for me, I really believe in the differentiation that we're doing. And the thing that gives me energy is when we take, like, what lacrosse did for me was give me a platform. And the best thing that ever happened was I got introduced to a guy out in Minneapolis who was coaching youth lacrosse. And he goes, hey, a good buddy of mine works at Target. You might want to meet him. I didn't know who this guy was or what his title was, but he played lacrosse at Yale. At the time, he happened to be the head of household cleaning for Target. The only reason he took a meeting with me is because he's a former lacrosse player. So even though, I'm talking down on the monetary side of lacrosse, it opened a door that wouldn't have opened previously.
Right.
So before HEX was well thought out outside of a chemistry, I had an opportunity to meet with an incredible retail partner to hear my story. And they had interest. And they've continued to work with us over the last 2 years because they believe in the thought process. Now, I wouldn't have any energy to continue to push through if I went to that meeting, gave him samples, and he said, dude, you're out of your mind. I am out of my mind, but when he gave the samples to people in the office, they came back and asked for it again. That's all I care about.
Right.
Is I can go nuts on a whiteboard in an office and act crazy, but at the end of the day, if my product doesn't have a user experience or a point of differentiation that really makes sense to play in this space, I don't. Then you're right. I should have said, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I probably should have gone back to my that job putting gas main in the ground, right?
Okay, so let me just make sure I'm catching up on all this. You are saying you've got an eco-friendly, hypoallergenic detergent that actually cleans the problem, solves the real problem, but nobody knows about it. Hey guys, thanks for listening as always, and I'm glad that you continue to support with each and every download and subscription and share. One of the things that I want to ask you, though, is where are you listening to me from right now? I know some of you, maybe you're on a treadmill, maybe you're washing dishes, maybe you're walking that dog, and some of you are actually in a vehicle driving right now. One of the fun things that you can do, get some of your time back, is begin to living a car-free existence. But even then, it can be a little complicated. So one of the things that I want you to do is I want you to go over to Zipcar. Go to joinzipcar.com/cashflow diary. It's a way that I am able to still go get a car just for a few hours, very, very simply, so that if I have a lot of errands to run and sheets to drop off and running to the short-term rentals, or if I just want to go for a long trip up to LA and back, etc., I can rent a car for a very, very short period of time. And the cool part is I don't even have to pay for any gas. Again, go to joinzipcar.com/cashflow diary.
Exactly. So why are these textile companies building in anti-odor technologies into the fabric? And why are you still throwing it out a year later? Like, that's a question that I understand we're talking about laundry, but that's a real question. Like, why are technology brands forced to build in anti-odor technologies? Is that because the textiles issue, or is that because the traditional methods don't clean it?
That's interesting.
So for us, we flipped that on its head and say, if these guys are building into the fabric, why don't I come up with a technology to build it into my aftercare solution? So not only do you get it when you buy the fabric, it's a constant reapplication every laundry. And if it's dermatologist tested, if it's readily biodegradable, and it works on both hard and soft surfaces like a synthetic or a cotton, doesn't that solve everything from my bath towel to my worst workout clothes?
Yeah, sorry. When you keep mentioning bath towels or workout clothes, like I'm sure I'm not the only one having this experience right now, like where their smells just hit their mind all of you're just like, oh, I remember that. I'd never want to smell that again. And that's like on your website, one of the things that I loved, it says we solved stink. And I'm like, yes. Yes, I love that. That is the best ever.
No, I mean, believe me, we've had major internal discussions like is should we we beat around the bush here? And the funny thing is, when we've talked to consumers, they speak about it more harshly than we could ever put it on a billboard or on a website. I mean, so we're scared of it at first, and then getting into it, you know, a big piece of what we've learned is like, you know, we have to have a product we can rely on. Mm-hmm. And we have to go engage people in more of a scrappy guerrilla mindset. You know, when I first said to you, like, hey, I make laundry detergent, you're probably like almost started taking a nap.
I was wondering how we were going to have something to talk about, but it's a business. You know, every product deserves some light, but there's always a story for the entrepreneur as well, and this is no different. But what I like about this is that there's probably not one person listening, whether they have a teenage child, boy, sport, athlete, or just a friend of someone who's like, man, can you tell your kid to like keep that? Like literally, my friend, his soccer gear stays in the back of the pickup truck. It can't come in the cab. It's bad, man. It's like just horrid. And I'm just like, wow. And yeah, and he buys new gloves like clockwork because there's like, what else you gonna do? But it's crazy. I'm talking to you. I'm like, oh, that's just crazy. He should do this.
Yeah, I mean, we hear horror stories all the time from people, whether it's, you know, pet products or sporting goods or whatever.
Well, did this ever? Okay, so have you been able to get into you started out thinking about like the NFL, the weight rooms, the gyms. How is that going? Is that something that's happening? Because it seems like they would. It's not like they don't know. So it's like
no doubt. So we've gone a commercial. We've tested some commercial applications. Commercial is a whole completely different business model than you know, the household category.
Sure.
What we've done is, you know, one thing that we realize, if we say, hey, we're the next greatest detergent, that's kind of a ridiculous statement, and it's tough. That's a tough battle to win. We're already speaking to people who are skeptical about something working, right? Like, right. If the brands that I've known for decades aren't getting this done, right. How are you, right?
Right.
So for us, it's been, you know, for us, our talking points are, you know, your fabrics have changed. And you need to upgrade your laundry product. So what we've found is if we go to what we call internally points of sweat, like if we can go intersect people at a spin class or at a youth sporting event and say, hey, we don't need you to pull your wallet out. We don't need you to do anything. We have so much belief that you're going to have a great experience is we're going to give you a sample for free.
Right. And
that's been really powerful for us to say, like, we can really see that is what the driver is no matter what ad or video content or whatever I serve you, it still comes down to you have to perform. And if the product doesn't perform at that first experience, we got a rough road. So that's been a lot of us has been a little more scrappy. Instead of saying we're going to buy traditional reach and frequency ads or things of that nature, we just want to let the product speak for itself. But going to, you know, the commercial side of things is way different from just who interacts in that space.
Yeah, I like it sounds, again, it's very small business entrepreneurial. It's like, look, if I can't play, I can't play on TV, but what I can do is I can play on the field, like literally on the field.
No, you're exactly right. And you know, there's you know, we talked about it a little bit before we got going, but when you look at traditional media costs and things like that.
Right.
I still don't know if you believe me.
What do you mean?
I still don't know even if I came up with the best creative asset and put that, you know, all over TV and everything, if you'd still say, you know, I got to go buy this stuff. So for us, it's kind of like, you know, we're in, you know, almost 4,000 grocery stores around the country, predominantly on the West Coast and East Coast, down in Texas and a little bit up in Chicago. So we're very coastal. But for us, it's like, hey, let's go beat the street and talk to people, because I believe that's a lot more authentic. And, you know, we want to build a community of people who want to go spread the word about us, right? And I don't think we're going to do that as authentically digitally or through a reach and frequency type message.
Well, yeah, not if the message comes from you, but if you, as you're collecting all these stories from moms specifically,
right,
who are relieved that, you know, their minivan no longer smells like it used to, then I think you'll have the material for that type of campaign. But what I like about the story is that we're building the business. It starts with a need. It's not something you ever, I'm sure there was never a version of you where you said, you know what, one day, Mom, I'm going to own all of this laundry detergent stuff. I mean, you know, it's not like you had that thought, right?
I mean, there's something inherently comical about that, right?
I think it's at least ironic.
It's somewhat hilarious. But when I think about it, I mean, when I started going down the process of looking through it from a commercial and then to a retail product, a lot of things made sense, or at least there was, in my mind, felt like there was logic behind it. So, I think it's hilarious that I make laundry detergent, but, I mean, it's a fascinating business. It's a category everybody does. And I think like a number of other categories, there's opportunity for others in the space. I'm not trying to be a, 100 share or 50 share, but, for us, it's a unique opportunity with some favorable things that have happened in the market over the last, 10 years.
Completely understood. And I think that's kind of where, again, innovation and opportunity just meet. You had a problem and you figured out a way to solve it. And that's what's most important when it comes down to building any sort of business.
Sure. And then there's the pieces that tie it all together, right? If we're going to enter this space, if you go to our website, the packaging is completely different from what you traditionally see detergent in. The viscosity of the product is the viscosity of water. And there's a funny story there too, is most detergents you buy are very thick and they're dyed blue. And when our formula was finished, it was very clear and water-like. And we're like, man, what did we screw up?
You thought you had it wrong.
Right. We thought we were like, we're so off base here. But when we tested it, the efficacy was incredible. And we're
right.
And we went back to like a formulator and said, hey, what are we missing here? They said, well, you're missing a blue dye and a thickener. And they're like, neither of those have cleaning benefits. So I'm like, well, we don't need them, so we're not going to put them in there. So there's been like cool things like that have happened throughout the process where we've tried by design to make everything about the brand very different from how it's delivered to what it looks like, to how it performs, to the benefits within it. Because I think if we came in a big jug and used the traditional lingo, we're kidding ourselves.
So this is one of those situations where you're going out of your way to differentiate yourself, to almost say you're going to have a different experience all the way around with us, even from the packaging from the beginning.
Yeah, so I think that my partner now, who operates with me, is basically, he was adamant on that. It's like, if we're going to do this, because his background was in traditional laundry for 30 years with one of the biggest guys in the category. So he's been on that side, and when coming to this side, saying if we're going to play in this space, we have to think differently, talk differently. So that's from the packaging to what it looks like, to how we speak, to even how we approach a retailer, right? So in the category, there needs to be an incentive for the retailer to work with us, right? Yeah. So how do you create a margin story or a trade story that incentivizes, us to have an opportunity to play in the space and also provide a win-win to that retail partner? So that's another place where we've put some thought in how do we give ourselves, almost try and create a new category of you have, the high-end guys, you have the green guys, which we've learned we've learned that if you lead with green, sometimes there's a perspective it doesn't clean, and I'm not trying to rhyme, but and then or you buy something low end. But I think no matter which one you're using right now, I don't think you're saying like I'm having the ultimate experience. So is there an opportunity to come in and say, this is completely different? Our entry point is today's fabrics, but our users end up figuring out that they can use it on everything. So that's kind of the genesis.
I like it. So we've talked about it enough, and I know there's a number of people who probably are at least curious enough to try. If they wanted to catch up with you guys, find out more about what you've got going on, what's going to be the best way for them to find out what you guys are up to, or maybe even get a sample and figure it out for themselves?
Yeah, definitely. So if you go to hexperformance.com, from there we can get samples going, and we're going to have a promo code of cash flow for listeners from this show. So tons of more information on our website about what we do, and
I like it.
Yes, shoot me a note. We'll get you a sample.
Got it. I love it. So as we wind down here, I've got a question for you because I'm kind of curious to hear your answer, because I think I kind of know where it's going to go, but I'm not 100% certain. Let's pretend for a moment, that someone listening, they're going to take that leap of faith, if you will. They're going to go start their thing. They're actually going to jump off that cliff. Maybe they're not going to battle the behemoths of existing industry, but maybe they are. Who knows? They might feel so inspired to do so. But as you know, when we all get ourselves to that position of making those types of decisions, there's often a companion with us, and that companion comes in the form of a voice, and it always reminds us of what we can't do, how it's not going to work, and how it didn't work last time, and oh my God, are you literally going to take on Tide? That's what the voice says, and sometimes it even, some people are even related to the voice. So my question to you is as follows. Let's pretend that they're actually going to follow through. They're going to do it this time. And, Drew, they're going to do so in the next 24 to 48 hours. What would you say they should do?
Dive right in.
I had a feeling you were going to say something like that.
There's nothing. I could never go back to anything other than being an entrepreneur. I don't think it's about, and I think about it every day, even though I'm still off that cliff, and I'm
right.
I haven't caught wings yet, but I love it. And for me, I associate a lot of what I'm doing now to sports. And for me, like in sports, the film didn't lie, right? Whether I thought I played good or played poorly, the film didn't lie, and the film told the truth of what I needed to work on. For me now, it's my film's the data, and the data doesn't lie, and it's either going up or it's going down. So for me, the win it's not the ultimate win is way off in the distance, and that's the light at the end of the tunnel that's sometimes tough to see. But for me, it's celebrating the little things, right? It's what can I celebrate daily or weekly, not what I'm going to celebrate at this pipe dream way down the road. So I think it's an incredible process. I think it's completely empowering. I think it's completely terrifying. But I think at the end of the day, you're much more fulfilled, especially if you find something that ultimately you're passionate about, even if it's as silly as laundry detergent.
I love it. I definitely thank you for sharing your knowledge, your insight, and your wisdom, and having the courage to take on stink and bring it to the market.
So eloquently put.
Yeah. Well, hey, somebody had to do it, and I'm so glad. So I'm as soon as we're done, I'm going directly. I'm like, you have got to go get this right now, because I don't want to smell those gloves anymore, man. And I just don't want to smell those gloves anymore. And I'm going straight to them to let them know that you guys exist. So I definitely appreciate what you guys are doing. And thanks for being here.
I appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. It's time for you to move at the speed of instruction. What does that mean? That means hexperformance.com. Go over there, figure out, where you fit in, because right now you've got some socks, or you've got some athletic equipment, or a friend who does. So pass along the promo code CASHFLOW so that they can hopefully make your airflow a lot better than what it's been recently. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been fun talking to you today. I look forward to talking to you soon. Until next time.